again, this is Jess Brown from Revamp Design. I'm going to go ahead and go into an email critique again. This time it's going to be more of a newsletter kind of email. As you can see here, we're going to ignore obviously the sender and the forward. The subject line was Law and Religion Headlines, December 6, 2018. So just right off the bat, the subject line here is maybe a 2. It is effective as far as saying exactly what it's about. These are literally going to be headlines, as you'll see later on as we look into the actual email. And it does give us a date for some context, so that's good. However, I do think there are ways to make this more interesting, more creative, and more catchy. And it could just be a matter of maybe highlighting 1 or 2 articles, or maybe a couple of subjects that are coming up in this specific collection of headlines. And so that may be a nice way to improve this, just to make it a little bit more interesting, maybe less likely to kind of fall by the wayside. Because if I see this headline in the midst of all the other subject lines in my inbox, I'm pretty apt to just kind of ignore it until I'm really interested in diving into it and looking through this. So that may be a way to help with open rates for sure. So let's go ahead and jump right into the actual email itself. So here is the email. We'll go ahead and scroll down. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and so let's talk about the CTAs first. Granted, this is a newsletter type of email where we're expecting to see a lot of links. There's not going to be one super clear call to action. However, I would still give this maybe a 2 as far as a score on the calls to action, just because there's so much and it's so overwhelming to me as a user, because there's 3 sections, but each section has 50 links, and so I have no way of going through and separating these. It's all there, and it's all up to me to kind of make some kind of sense to this. It was really hard for me when I first got this email to figure out what I was even interested in looking at, because all of these, they're so close together, and it's hard to kind of go through and read each one of these. But eventually I kind of just ignored the rest of the calls to action, just because it was too much work for me to kind of dig through this. So as far as, respecting my time and things like that, it's probably a little too much and too close together. And so that kind of goes in the hierarchy. So that is part of the reason why I'm giving this CTA for this email a 2 for its score. So let's go into the hierarchy, since we've already kind of discussed that. There are some indicators to me as a user what these sections are for this email. There's 3 sections, and we can see that because there's bold headlines that have some nice white space around them down here and down here. There are a lot of ways to improve the hierarchy for this email, and part of it is going to be just even tackling this list. There's just not enough space in between each section, so all of this kind of bleeds into one big block of text. And yeah, there are some uses of color to help separate the links from just other little descriptions or like the source of these links. However, it's not enough. And I also feel like the contrast of this red on this grayish background is starting to get a little bit too close. There's not enough contrast, so it really pops it away and makes it easier for me to read. The colors are just a little bit too light for me with this red and the gray. So for hierarchy, I would give this email a 1, just because it's really hard to understand what's going on here. There's a ton of links. There's no explanation of, subgroupings maybe within these major sections. We have these 3 major ones that kind of help us out with things about the region that you're in. I think a lot of this could be resolved with subheadings, maybe some other pictures, or even shorten it up and just choose the most relevant headlines or events that are specific to me, and then have a link that goes to a page, a landing page with even more of these, so that I can say, I'm interested in even more international headlines, like the ones that you chose are great, and I want to read more. So I'm going to go to this landing page and then pick through all of these other things. And then we can have even more opportunities to do things like add pictures, add descriptions or summaries, and let the user then kind of pick through what they're interested in. Granted, these are a lot of third-party links. There may be some other factors in why they can't make a landing page with so many of these. I still think you could at least group them up into maybe these are all of the events for the Europe headlines. These are all of the articles for the Europe headlines, instead of just putting them all kind of into one block of text that's really hard to deconstruct. So this plays into the value section of the score for this email. I'm going to give it about a 2 because I am interested in these topics, even though I'm not involved in law school at all. I'm just very interested in the topics at hand. However, as I've said before, it is really hard to kind of dig through all of this. And so the value to me as a user starts to decline as I have to work extra hard to grab that value that I'm looking for. So that also bleeds right into the urgency and relevancy factor. For this email, I'm going to give it about a 2. It is relevant to me. I did ask for it. I am interested in these kinds of things. However, again, like I said, it is just really hard with so many different things for me to dissect what actually applies to me. So like some of these events are in California or in, Boston, wherever they may be, and they're completely, out of my ability to attend. So it does help if there was some kind of way for us to filter out what's relevant and what's not. And so that's why it does kind of take down the relevancy to me, simply because there's so much going on here that I can't even begin to interact with. So to wrap up, there are a lot of ways to improve this email. I think it's great as far as delivering the content that I'm asking for, because I did sign up for this. I did want to see these things. However, I still give the CTAs a score of 2, the value to me as the receiver a score of 2, the subject line a score of 2, and hierarchy a score of 1. And the urgency or relevancy to me as the user as a 2. So that kind of brings our email all together with a score of 9 out of 25. And I think there's actually just a few tweaks that we can do to increase the level of all of those scoring factors. And it really comes down to basically the hierarchy and giving me a little bit more to go off of for me to understand what these links are. Other than that, I think this could be a pretty effective email if we were to just either whittle it down or make it a little bit easier for us to navigate. So that's it for this email. Go ahead and come check us out at Revamp-Design if you're interested in more about email design, development, and strategy. And I would love to set up a call with you if you're interested in improving your email campaigns. Feel free to email me at jess@revamp-design.com, and we'll talk to you soon.